Okay. Paula, we'll kick things off if that's okay.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Just want to make sure we're recording. I think we are. So good evening, everyone, and thank you all for joining us in tonight's webinar on online safety. On behalf of myself, Mr. Shane Brennan, I'd like to welcome all parents and guardians here this evening for a very important webinar focusing on online safety and supporting our young people in the digital world. We're delighted to be joined this evening by Paula O'Connor, who has an extensive experience working with schools and families to promote safe, responsible, and positive technology use. Paula has supported many school communities with practical advice and real life guidance, and we're very grateful that she has given up her time this evening to speak with us this evening. Just a few quick housekeeping rules. Just notes before we begin. Just please use the chat throughout the session. If you have any questions, we'll address as many of them as possible at the end. A feedback form will be shared afterwards with all parents and guardians. We really appreciate you taking a minute to complete it. And it's again just a feedback form of anything that cropped up that you might want to ask further about, or even just giving us feedback on this evening's session. Paul's email and contact details will also be available on screen should you wish to follow up with her directly. And as always, if you have any concerns, particularly with your child or that you can contact your appropriate yearhead, and they will deal with any outstanding or any issues that you feel has arisen from this evening's webinar that you would like to address with them directly. And again, remember that it's an online webinar so we don't need to know any specifics, but if you have a very general question about what's the content that is being displayed this evening, and you have a question, please put in the chat box and we'll ask Paula to answer it. And again, yeah, please, we'll direct you to all your child's yearhead if you have any particular questions or anything that has arisen from this evening's webinar that you'd like to bring up with your yearhead, please do so. So without further delay, thank you everyone again for attending, and Paula, thank you as well for giving up your time this evening, and I'll hand you over to Paula now to begin this evening's webinar. Thank you.
Thanks a million. How are we, guys? And thanks so much for joining us tonight on such a, I don't know about you guys, but here in Dublin, it's a miserable night, and it has been a miserable day. So a couple of weeks back, I think I spent my time, Mr. Brennan, am I right, with the first year students?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we had a session with those guys a couple of weeks ago, and we continued that today with our second year group and fifth years in the afternoon. So the program, what the kids would have went through, you get a synopsis of tonight from an adult perspective, and giving you an insight into what it's like to be grown and developing as an adolescent in today's society with the influence of gaming, social media and digital technology. We have to be very mindful on the server tonight. The world is a different place from the world you and I grew up in. The influences are so very different, and it's important that we are aware of the challenges and the potential risks and dangers for our children as they grow and develop in this online space. So tonight we need to just look at, well, what is the concept of adolescence? We see it there on screen a couple of times. Adolescent growth and development, and then the child being defined as an adolescent. Well, adolescence is the phase of a child's psychological growth and development, and it starts around the age of 10, working its way up to the age of 24. And during this time and transition, there's a number of changes taking place that's really important to acknowledge for teenagers. Their body is changing, their brain is maturing, and all of the relationships in their lives are up in the air. All they're trying to do at this stage of identity, or at this stage of development, is to establish their identity based on the influences within their life. In their life space, we have real world influences, and you and I as parents and guardians would remember what that looks like, because to be quite honest, that hasn't changed much. We still have the same level of risk, and we still have lived experience to feed into our children to keep them safe from harm. But when it comes to online influences, it's slightly different, because as you and I know on the service out here tonight, we weren't born with iPads and tablets and smartphones, and we didn't have access to gaming world and online interactions through social media. So that level of risk is not familiar to us. And even though we use digital devices and we may use social media sites, we don't use them the way our children do, because we're not in the stage of adolescence and our brain is fully formed and our body is not changing, and our relationships and all of our peer groups are quite established at this stage. So the way we use social media and the way we use technology, because our brain is fully formed, is so very different to this element of children who are growing and developing. All our kids want during this phase of adolescence is to fit in, to belong, to be part of a group. Belonging is a huge element of their daily life. And it's common for these kids to compare themselves to other people. And whether that be trainers or hairstyles or match attack cards in the real world, we know what that feels like. We've been parents, we know it, or we were children. We know what it's like to collect, maybe in my era, it was fancy paper and novelty erasers. And if you didn't have those erasers or that paper, you couldn't sit and swap at break time. So we do, it's familiar to us when trends emerge, how pressurized it is for our kids to follow these trends. But then digital trends begin to emerge, and some of the digital trends, unlike the real world trends, are not so positive. They can be quite negative. And all the kids want to do when they start this phase of adolescence around the age of 10 is to launch off into the world and become independent. They're processing differently in their brain. And when they process things in their brain from 0 to 10, a child's brain during that period, especially on the latter, the minor end of the scale, babies, quite impulsive, quite impulsive and emotional in their brain. So they have quite a lot of tantrums and quite a lot of feelings of unsafe, because in the brain we have the amygdala constantly firing, telling this little baby, I don't feel safe. And there's a lot of modeling going on, because a baby can't assess risk and danger. As this child grows from 0 to 10, we as adults in their lives are putting structure in place to safeguard them. We're modeling safe behaviors to them. And we're hoping to God that they take on board what we tell them in order for them to be safe, which is really, really important. And then they get to around the age of 10 and they start to process things differently, coming towards the center section of their cognitive brain. They're starting to look around, compare themselves to other people, and they're starting to listen to different trends emerging, and online world trends can emerge now. But now that my body is changing, and all the relationships in my life is changing, I want to become more independent. I want to cut the bubble wrap that my parents have had on me for 0 to 10 years, and I want to launch off into the world and become independent. And this is where you and I, as parents, get a little bit of fear. Oh my God, out into the world. Oh, I don't really want them to go. Or access to a digital device. Oh my God, don't want them to have it. And if their pals have it, we see that elements of conflict can arise in our home. And we will try our very best to put safeguarding procedures in place. All we want is to keep these children safe, and all we want is to shield them from the elements of risk that are around them. And all these kids want is to be part of their friendship groups. Now, they will refer to us as Karens and Kens in their lives. They call us the moan bags, when the reality is all we really want to do is provide a level of support and guidance for them, get them through this adolescent phase of transition and change, where all of this natural development is taking place, one that they can't control, and all they want to do is fit in. So there can be quite a lot of tension during this time, quite a lot of them bending the rules, quite a lot of arguments and situations of fighting and squabbling. Most of the conflict we see in our homes today is related to technology, because these kids will want to follow digital trends because of our lack of information and knowledge, no lived experience of how these trends emerge and how they affect our children as they grow. We might be saying no because we're 100% fearful of that. And we know in allowing them to follow digital trends when we don't have enough information in our head, that would be risky. And we would never, ever intentionally put our children at risk. That's the way it's been from the moment our kids arrived into the world. We were establishing safety, love, care, support. Safety was paramount. So as our kids grow, they start to push the boundaries. They start to want to move in more of a direction of how their friends are moving, and that will be digital trends. Now, if we follow the trends, guys, you might be familiar with the trends as they emerge into a child's life. And we're kind of covering from junior school, so we'll go from kind of 5th class all right the way up to 5th year, 6th year in secondary school tonight. So it gives you a broad perspective if you have different age groups in your homes. It starts back in 2009 with Minecraft. We see Roblox being very dominant at the moment, probably the most dangerous game online for children right now. We also see FIFA being a dominant force. Every September, FIFA gives us a new version, new championship and world-class players on the cover. 2017, we saw a Battle Royale drop a free download because it was a pay to play game prior to this. And again, it was the way they influenced children. A free download. The only thing free was the download. Everything after that was to pay for. But when the digital trend emerged in our child's group, of course, our kids want to follow the trend and they want to get this game too. Among Us was during the pandemic, and we saw in 2021 both Battle Royale, Fortnite, and Among Us had fallen flat. And we went back, junior school kids were playing Minecraft, Roblox, and FIFA. Back to the old reliables. Until 2021, Fortnite launched into the world. It emerged with the original maps and it was a new version. And it created again a new digital trend, September 2024. So now what we see across the country starting, and it can start as young as senior infants, right the way through junior school. This is what we call appropriate level up to the age of 14. Minecraft, Roblox, FIFA, and Fortnite would be the main 4 games across the country. Now, the positives of gaming, it can be a great way for kids to have fun interacting online. We know on the forum tonight here, we are all busy parents, we've busy lives. And it's nice to be able to come home, get the kids to do homework, chores, have the dinner, and then say, okay, now you've got your chores done, go and you can have a little hour on your console. But in order for kids to have fun interacting with friends, guys, just like going out to play in the real world, we must give them structure and guidance. In the real world, we would never expect a 5-year-old kid to go out onto the street without teaching them to cross the road. We would never expect a child to be able to go football training without teaching them the perspective of stranger danger. To stay safe in an unsafe world, we give our children structure and guidance. And then at some stage, the digital trends emerge and we allow our children to take part in these trends. And then we have to ask ourselves, like, where's the structure? If I'm going to allow my child access to a console, a laptop, an iPad, do I have the ability to provide the levels of structure and support that they need? So when our kids go online to game online, even at such a young age, these games have associated risks. And as our children move through the levels from Minecraft to Roblox to FIFA to Fortnite, the levels intensify and the risks get greater. So what might the risks be to make you aware if you're making difficult decisions in relation to gaming or a child having a console or a certain game? Well, when children play games online, they're exposed to content that leaves them feeling upset, distressed, and it can even cause sleepless nights. On these child-friendly games, if we were to look at Roblox, which is the most, I suppose, spoken about, and it's mostly up for debate at the moment because it's such a dangerous environment. On Roblox, they don't make their own experiences. So users and gamers, being we, the gaming population, are allowed to make experiences and load them to the Roblox servers. And what happens then is the moderators will gauge over the content and the age that we've assigned the game to see if it's relevant for that age group. Now, we need to be very clear tonight as adults on the server. The AI, the moderators are AI, artificial intelligence, who don't have a brain to process whether it's appropriate or not. They don't have an amygdala to fire signals to say, oh my God, I'm in distress here. That's not okay for a 12-year-old. And they don't have feelings. They're not human beings. So hence why a lot of the content that's loaded to the Roblox servers, because it's moderated by AI, it's content that's not appropriate for children, which can leave them feeling quite upset and distressed. They also put themselves at risk playing online with randomers. When their friends are not present to play, they will pick up random people on servers across the world and they will play with these people. So generally speaking, if I was a child at the age of 6 or 7, I could play Minecraft and I could play solo. And solo means I'm only playing against the game. I don't need an internet connection. But when I move up the levels to Roblox, I'm likely to be interacting with people who are not only children. And even though it prides itself on being a child-friendly game, there's a lot of adults, predators, groomers, and paedophiles that use Roblox as a way of connecting to children. When we move up a level to FIFA, we see it's both adults and children. an age rating of 3. And then also on Fortnite, we have that mix of adults and children, which makes it quite unsafe. So if our children are going to play with randomers, we have to be very much open to the idea that this is a digital playground, unlike the playground you and I remember, which had swings and slides. And we had this awareness from real world rules. The amygdala would fire if we saw a creepy man or a creepy woman, or someone was walking a dog with no children. We had this, oh my God, alert system built in place. But who has had that same conversation with our children regarding the online world? Because now the playground has changed. We don't see so much, children in the playground, because this is their place to play now. And we see those element of people who children are at risk from. They've moved location from real world. They are now online. And we see a lot of children having experiencing deeply disturbed, unsupervised interactions, mainly on Roblox and additional servers with adults. Now, we look at our cyber safe statistics. 38% of 8 to 12-year-olds said that they game online with strangers. And more worrying would be the 65% that had interactions or communicated with players while gaming online. So our kids are not only playing with strangers, which is against all of our principles and all of our rules that we've had since the moment these children have been born, but not alone are they playing with strangers, they're also interacting, chatting with them, potentially on games like Roblox. That could be private chats. And that's really, really dangerous if we haven't informed our children about the potential that there are adults on this server, and that these servers are not safe to be around because there are people on there who are not safe around children. And we look at then the adult, the perspective of, well, what happens if I experience challenge or negativity? And will I go speak to my adult like I would in the real world if I was walking to football training and a car pulled up or a van pulled up and I got distressed? My amygdala would fire, tell me to get to safety. And the minute I got through the hall door, I'd relay the events to my caregiver, who would then scoop me up and make me feel better. A false alarm. I reacted well to that danger. I think you've done a great job, Paula. Fair play to you. But what happens to these children who are online disturbed with these disturbing, unsupervised interactions? Will these children come and talk to us when they've encountered challenge or negativity online? 45% of these children in the CyberSafe survey said that when bothered by harmful or unsolicited content, they did not tell a parent. Hence why, guys, we need to support, never punish. That's the approach we need to adapt. We need our children to be able to develop good digital communication. Our children are terrified to come and speak to us. Our children are terrified that if they come and talk to us and tell us that something negative has happened on, let's take for argument's sake tonight on Roblox, that the first thing we will do is say, okay, right, that's it, Roblox, not a safe environment, remove the risk. Now, from an adult perspective, that's what we do. We see our child at risk and we remove the risk. But the reality is, if I take Paula off Roblox, tomorrow or tonight, she's just going to go and play Minecraft or FIFA, or it could even be Fortnite, or she may not game at all and just go on TikTok or on YouTube. And the reality is, she's going to encounter the exact same negativity from people who frequent those servers or those games too, adults, unsafe environments, and we have a lack of communication. So we need to adapt the support, never punish approach. That if a child comes to confide in us, it means that child is in distress and they are trying to communicate to us that they need our help. Blowing a fuse and taking away access may not be the ideal situation here, because it's going to break down communication. We need our kids to be able to come and trust in our parenting, that we will parent in a calm and we will parent in a way whereby we will support this kid. No matter what happens, this kid knows that they can come and talk to me. These are only guidelines tonight, guys. I'm not telling you how to parent your children, but the reality is we're going to encounter the same negativity right the way across the board. And if we can't develop conversations with our junior school children, and we can't sit and talk to them about the potential risks when it comes to the way they're spoken to online or the content that they see, how are these kids in fourth year, fifth year, second year in secondary school supposed to come in and confide in us that someone in their group has shared an image of their body? That's not going to be possible for these kids. So we have to start micromanaging the use of technology, start working on good digital communication, empowering children, giving them ways and means and tools to support them to use digital devices. And if it presents with a challenge, Just like going out to play. I don't stop my kid going out a half hour in the day because it's dark in Ireland. They still have to function in an unsafe world, but I give them structures and strategies to keep them safe. And I give them tips, skills, and coping strategies for safety. So we need to start that micromanagement of and that use of technology and that digital communication from a really, really young age. That our kids now know that I can tell my mom anything, dad anything, and they will come and they will sit calmly, they will listen and they will support me and put a comfort blanket underneath me that no matter what, they're going to be there to protect me. Because these are the elements of risk, guys. Just like allowing a child go out to play, you allow them in a playroom access to the internet. And once you give your child access to the internet, you give the internet access to your child. And just like the real world, not everyone on the line is to be trusted. So it's important that we establish this good digital communication from a really young age. We also have to look at how these kids are growing and developing and how online gaming can change their little way of being in the world. And what I mean by that is how these kids think, the way they act, the way they feel, and the way they behave. So not only are they at risk, their online safety and how they have to keep themselves safe and have an awareness around that. These online games are also designed to keep players engaged and to provide high levels of dopamine, which is extremely problematic because teenagers and adolescents love dopamine. They love getting kicks and thrills. And sometimes you will notice they will engage in risky behaviors just to get a bit of a thrill, a bit of dopamine. And online gaming provides dopamine in high levels, and it really is, it can be really problematic. So, how might it change a child's way of being in the world? Well, you will notice from a very young age, children mimicking. It can change the way that they speak or the way that they act. And if I was to take a scenario of that in a junior school setting, we would have seen back when Minecraft and YouTube marry very well together because Minecrafters were trending and streaming on YouTube. We had a lot of kids walking around society in our schools and out to play in our home environments, and they were adapting this little American twang. Guys, and you're kind of like, what the hell? From Dundalk, like where's the accent? But the reality is that they're mimicking and they don't even realize that they're changing subconsciously. Having played so much Minecraft, I'm just trying to adapt strategies to make me cool. And I think Minecraft is cool, so it starts to change the way I speak. If we look at FIFA, we will see that generally in our schoolyards, especially if we have bad weather for a weekend and we see little boys and girls coming in on a Monday morning, and all of a sudden then the guys are playing sport and the goalie doesn't perform or the ball hits the crossbar, and all of a sudden you'll hear this tirade of like swear words emerge from this innocent little pleasant little normally it's non-reactive kid, and you're kind of like, oh, sorry guys, as the teacher, come Paula, we need to have a conversation. Asking the child, where in heaven's name did you learn such crude language? And of course, it's the adult perspective. When adults get angry on FIFA, the kid is mimicking subconsciously. They don't mean, there's no intent behind it. It doesn't make them a bad kid. They're mimicking and they're following and they're robbing personality traits and ways of speaking and ways of being. So it can actually change their way of being and the way they speak. We see behavioral issues again if we zone in any of these games, the high levels of dopamine, but specifically to FIFA and Fortnite, you will notice how there's increased levels of anger, aggression, and complete and utter rage. Not just whilst we play, but with Fortnite, we generally tend to see it. It also takes the adrenaline levels quite an amount of time to come back to what we would define as a normal level once I finish playing. And you might notice that you're calling your kid for their dinner and they're completely ignoring you. And you send the younger one up to tell them dinner's ready. And when that little guy or girl walks through the door, there's an absolute litany of abuse, and the child is pinned to the wall because they've lost their game, and the levels of anger and aggression, not just in that moment, but they'll go down eating the dinner and there's that level of these kids find it really hard to control their temper. The same child in the real world could be the most pleasant, placid little boy or girl or little person, but the reality is they don't have the ability to control their temper when they are immersed into this online space. It's just too hard. So we'll see a huge amount of conflict in families around behavioural issues. which is not normally related to my child in the online world. It's only during or after play. We also see cyberbullying issues, and again, we'll zone in specific to the new version of Fortnite on the end of the ladder there. And many of your fifth year students and those kids in kind of second to fifth year would have played Fortnite prior to September 2024 when the new version launched into the world. So they would be defined as kind of ranked and rated players. They potentially would have had what we call skins and wins. The object of Fortnite is to buy skins, which are little costumes that we dress in, and it sets it apart from other players. And there's 100 people on a server, and the sole objective of the game is to be the last man standing. If you are the last man standing, you receive a win, and the most people with the most wins are the best players and the ones that most people will want to play with. So if I would have defined myself in the Fortnite world prior to September 2024, I would have been defined in school. Oh, Billy Big Blouse, Paula is one of the best players in class. She has loads of skins, which are the unique little costumes, means I've spent lots of money in-app purchases, and Paula is ranked really high. So the kids look up to me. So with that comes a level of, oh, identity. Oh my God, I have a status within this group. But then September 2024, when the new version launched, there were children who never played before September 2024. And when they start to emerge into our groups, even though they're our friends, they can't play with me because they're not good enough. So what happens is there's inconsistency with Paula being up here and Shane being down here, because Shane was the footballer, and up to September 2024, he never engaged. But now we're a friendship group that has been friends since we were 5 or 6. And now there's this inconsistency because Shane is not good enough to play with us. And as we know, if that was in the real world and that was football, that would be seen as exclusion. But now, because it's online, my brain is not yet fully formed to work this out for myself. So now Shane is going around school telling everyone that I'm bullying him, online abuse and cyberbullying, because I won't let him play. And my head just goes to this space that Shane is just crap at Fortnite. It's an online game whereby the good players play with the good players. The noobs and defaults, which is Shane, he's new to the game, they need to play together. And then I get the hump with Shane because I don't like his reaction to my bad behavior, because I don't see it as bullying, where Shane does because he's being excluded. Where the reality is, guys, no one has sat this kid down to actually speak to them. That online bullying is the same as real world bullying. If exclusion occurs, it's deliberate, it's repeated, it's online abuse, it's cyberbullying, and I could end up in serious trouble. So we see this across the country. We see it causing conflict in their friendship groups. We see the result, exclusion. We as teachers are getting the calls then, year heads and form tutors and principals, there's this issue has emerged. And then under our Beacon Alter policy, if an allegation of bullying has been made, we have an obligation to investigate. It's a competency-based issue. So then we're taking time out of our teaching to go around and investigate allegations and try and bring it to a close. Guys, we need to teach our children to be kinder and nicer to each other, and we need to have conversations with them around how potentially this could be seen as bullying. It's online bullying, it's abuse. These kids, due to the brain development stage, they can't work that out for themselves. Would you believe your child's brain doesn't fully form until they're 24? So 0 to 10, they're processing through the limbic system, which is emotional and impulsive. And then they start to think things through a little, but they start to engage in risky behaviors. And they're not really thinking of consequences as an adolescent from the age of 12 to really the age of 17, 18. And then towards 17, 18, they're starting to use the prefrontal cortex, the thinking brain a lot more. So when we're looking at this adolescent group from 12 all the way up to 17, 18, the reality is we're putting pressure on them to make good decisions and choices at a time when their brain is not yet fully formed. And we don't have the ability to provide the levels of structure and support that they need due to us not having lived experience. So we can see why a lot of these issues would emerge for these children. Now, we also may be put under pressure from our children that we allow them to have consoles in their bedrooms, we allow them to have devices overnight, and that's where they will see a lot of these cyberbullying behaviours emerge. So it starts maybe on a console, and then of course I've kicked Shane off the server, Everybody is talking about the fact Shane is going around school, telling people I'm bullying him. And of course, I get angry then and I set up group chats. And then where does this get spoken about? Late at night in the bedrooms. Our kids then, if there's a bit of drama, which clearly between Shane and I, there's drama now. Two children have two different perspectives, a lack of understanding, a lack of structure and guidance. I would love to say it to Shane's face, but I can't say it to his face because I'd get caught. So I set up a group chat with someone else, a couple of kids in the group. And at night, late at night, when my parents are sleeping, I'm scrolling when I should be sleeping. I have a console in my bedroom. I'm playing games when I should be sleeping. And guys, this is causing sleep deprivation. Our kids scrolling when they should be sleeping. It is not possible for these kids to survive if they are not having an adequate amount of sleep. And sleep deprivation will affect a child's life in a negative way, every aspect of their life. Australian research just 2 years ago, it found and it indicated that teenagers now, adolescents across the world, are losing a night's sleep a week scrolling when they should be sleeping. So if you put your child to bed at 10, 11 o'clock and you're saying, okay, you're going up to the room, you're not allowed on the console, you're not allowed on the tablet, the iPad, the phone. And of course, they phones under the illusion they need it for their alarm clock. When the reality is, wake up to that one, guys. They're suffering from a fear of FOMO. We see the kids scrolling and playing games when they should be sleeping. So you go to bed at 11, you're fast asleep thinking so too is your child and they're scrolling. It's impossible to get them out of bed in the morning. It's impossible for those kids to arrive early to school. It's impossible to get a locker organized, to have 6 classes every hour, to have 6 subjects and 6 bags and 6 a T-square and home ec equipment and a hardback for that and arrive to class on time. How are these kids supposed to, even in first year, navigate that process when they're so tired? Finding their way in around a new school, teachers, the expectation that these kids are young adults now. It's not like junior school where they have that comfort blanket of one room, one teacher, a hot lunch. This is a requirement. They need to be adult-like in this environment. And if they're not, there will be consequences. Teacher putting notes in journal, notifying yearheads and form tutors, lots more Karens and Kens, moaning and giving out. And it can lead to so much stress and anxiety. So we need to be cautious, guys. If you could take one thing away from tonight's session, nothing of this, if you remember, the one thing is that you make a positive change for your child tonight, taking all devices out of the bedrooms overnight. That would be a step in the right direction. We need to prioritize real world friendships. These kids are more connected than any other generation of human beings with devices. It is 24/7. But these kids are more socially isolated because what they are doing is they're self-isolating. We look at the weather and I'm looking out here of my office window and I'm thinking, why would I want to go play for FIFA or football on a night like tonight? Why would I want to get out in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt and run me guts off on a field when I can sit and chuck a sickie in my house and go and sit and play FIFA on my gorgeous gaming chair on my 50-inch telly in my bedroom with my heated blanket? Of course, I'm not going to go football training, and the weather in Ireland is so unpredictable. Probably like that on Thursday too. I'm not going to go either, which means I don't get me match on a Saturday. And then I'm wondering why 4 weeks from now the kids have stopped calling to ask me to go to football. I'm not making them a priority. This is affecting every aspect of their life. They're not going out at the weekend with their pals. They're not going to their football. They're withdrawing from their social activities after school. The guys stop calling. This console, this device is taking over. It's affecting every aspect of their daily life. And we have to notice when something starts to affect a child's life in those type of aspects, they are now at risk of addiction. Now, addiction, guys, when it comes to gaming, it's listed as gaming disorder on the DSM-5. And once I become isolated, and if a parent has no time frame for me to play, and I have a console in my bedroom, I'm going to be at risk, and that risk is addiction. The youngest child I have an active addiction in my clinical practice here in Ashbourne is 11, and that child is an addict, and now it's about retraining the brain, put healthy associations in there so that child going through life doesn't think or feel the need to replace one addiction with another as he grows. So we have to be very mindful as parents on the server tonight. Sleep deprivation, isolation, and then leading to addiction. This is real, and we're seeing it across the country for our young people. And it doesn't end there, guys. If we look at these games are really on trend for our youth from probably the age of 6 in junior school right the way up to 16 to 18. But then we noticed today where the ages were going in fifth year, 17, 18. So you imagine that peer group of 17-year-olds, their friends are going back as far as 15. So if the 17-year-olds are playing certain games, the 15-year-olds are listening in and they're kind of comparing themselves to that older peer group, which is 2 years below, 2 years above. So if I'm 17, my friends go up as far as 19. If I'm 15, my friends up as far as 17. Those kids are playing the 18 rated games, and the two 18 rated games that are relevant and on trend right now are Call of Duty, which the kids you might hear them refer to as COD, and we also have Grand Theft Auto, which you'll hear a reference of GTA. Now, I want to make you aware, guys, that GTA is due for launch, which is the most problematic of the two most popular 18 rated games in the world right now. And GTA 6 is due for renewal or for release and launch. It was to be May 2026. It's been pushed out now to November 2026. And when this game launches into society, it is going to take the world by storm. There is going to be a major trend. We are up around 13 years waiting for this game to launch. The version of GTA our kids are playing right now is GTA 5. And guys, 18 rated games when a child's brain is not yet fully formed is extremely dangerous. So I'm asking you, please, if your child has GTA 5 and you have younger children at home who think, well, because Bobby plays it, I can go online and play 18 rated games with Bobby too. Please don't allow your child to play 18 rated games. Now, they may pull the wool over your eyes and tell you, oh, ma'am, it's only 18 rated because there's a bit of blood and guts and gore and, guns and bombs and drug deals. And that's not the case. GTA Grand Theft Auto has scenes and activities of a highly sexualized nature. There are strip clubs, there are strippers that are naked from the waist up, and players are allowed to fondle a stripper's body. There's prostitution. And when a child's brain is not yet fully formed and they're looking at relationships in now when they start to get to 14, 15 and become sexually aware as an adolescent, it starts to change as concepts and influences how they feel about things and how they will manage relationships going forward. So under no circumstances should a child under the age of 18 be allowed access to 18 rated games. Please be alert. 50% of parents of children between 10 and 14 in this study allowed their kids to play 18 rated games without supervision and without prior knowledge of the game beforehand. If your child asks you for a certain game, go online and Google its contents, guys. See what the age rating is, see why the game is rated 18s, make sure it's appropriate for your child. Because what we see across the country is many junior school children up to the age of 12, 13, even on into first year and secondary, are being exposed to these types of adult rated games while on play days or at sleepovers. Now, I don't know about you, but I've raised three absolutely outstanding human beings, three gorgeous girls here in my own home. I would like to say angels, but I'd be more realistic if I said little witches because they're not perfect and they don't always get things right. But the reality is, guys, if someone, when my children were small, if someone was to expose my child to adult rated content whilst at a sleepover or a play day, I am going to blow a fuse. And that wasn't when my kids were around. There was no GTA and there was no high exposure to that. But imagine showing a child an 18 rated movie at a sleepover or play day. We wouldn't be okay with that. And this is the exact same concept. We do not allow children access to 18 rated games. And please be mindful if they have older siblings, if they're having play days or sleepovers, that they don't sneak access to us and expose another person's child. If they do that, please be aware. It is a child protection issue. If a child is at risk under the Children's First Act, we have an obligation to report that risk to safeguard that child, and it can lead to intervention from Child and Family Services. Also, when a child's brain is underdeveloped and they have access to adult rated content, this child, if they see such adult rated content in extreme 18 rated games, these children are more likely as they move forward to access pornographic content at a younger age. And porn online, guys, the average age for first time search in this country is between 8 and 11. And that's through our research. Gail Danes, the CEO for Culture Reframed at the Women's Aid Symposium in November 2022, said in Irish society, the age for first-time search is between 8 and 11. Now, my colleagues I'm an adolescent psychotherapist, so my remit for children is between 10 up to the age of young adults and into emerging adulthood. And I see adults, both adolescents and adults, but I don't see under 10s. My clinic, I have an adolescent child therapist up there present. And when we go to the symposiums on child and adolescence, the child therapists are now saying that children between 6 and 8 are accessing pornography. Now, the influence, guys, is algorithms. And algorithms can unintentionally target children with extreme content because kids are faking their age for social media, and they're also searching, putting into the search bar little curiosity, maybe unintentionally looking for little, maybe sexy images. Once I've seen it on GTA, my brain is now, wondering, I'm curious as to what it is. And then they may go online and search for it. So we have to be very, very cautious that our children are exposed to adult rated content at an age whereby their brain is not yet developed to deal with such exposure, because as they move forward, that can be detrimental for them and the relationships that they are starting to emerge and take interest in as they grow. So gaming online, guys, we see the potential risks with regard to their safety online, stranger danger. We see how it affects them as human beings, the way it changes their way of being in the world, the way they think, act, feel, and behave, and what can become problematic and influential in their growth and development. Please pay attention, have those conversations with your young people, looking at them over the 2 days that I spent with them. They're crying out for your help. They really do need supports because they are experiencing challenges and issues. And just like the 45% of kids we see online here on this slide, they're not coming to talk to us because they fear the consequences that you're going to remove them. And that we need to start good digital communication so they feel empowered to come and have those conversations with us. It doesn't end there, guys. You'd imagine for a young emerging child into emerging teen years and on into adolescence that we would think, okay, body change and brain development, a level of risk on gaming, that's enough pressure to pile onto a young emerging child. But then we add in an additional pressure when it comes to social media. Now, these are the social media sites that we see relevant and on trend for both young children in junior school right the way up into adolescence and on into adult life with the Instagram and Facebook on the end of the ladder. And the laws are very clear when it comes to social media, guys. So don't allow your children to put you under pressure. Excuse me. Social media and the law in Ireland, all of the social media platforms based in America, they have their own rules. And they say that to have a profile, you need to be 13. Irish law, on the other hand, states for a child to have a social media account under the age of 16, they need to have parental consent. So between 13 and 16, we as parents need to provide parental consent. The only way we can provide parental consent, guys, is if we know more than our children. So if our kids know more than we know, the reality is we can't provide the structure and support they need. And therefore, we really shouldn't be saying yes to it. Do we even get the opportunity to say yes? No. The reality is, whilst we have the laws and the structure in place, the reality tells a total different story, with 87% of 8 to 12-year-olds admitting to having their own social media or instant messaging app. This is understandable considering that 42% of young people do not talk to their parents about their online activity, and a further 63% indicate that their parents can't see what they're doing online. So if we were to sit and soul search here on the server tonight, we're asking, well, do you ever remember your 15-year-old coming in and asking, well, ma'am, can I get TikTok or Snapchat? The reality is that didn't happen. So if they were between 13 and 16, you might ask, how did they get the profile? Well, they were guided by their peers. They followed the digital trends. They used a false date of birth to slip under the radar. These kids know the rules, guys. They know that there's no age verification systems in place by any of the platforms we see here on screen, and they know that they can bend the rules to be like their friends. And whilst I may have been influenced by Shane has the older siblings. I'm the eldest in my house. Shane brought me over. Shane lodged all the files in my cabinet as a junior school child. of how I get social media. I went home from his house. I didn't ask permission, just downloaded the app, pulled out the files that the instruction Shane gave me, literally within 10 minutes, guys, falsified my date of birth, said I was 16, and bingo. It was simple. Within 10 minutes, and texting Shane from my new Snapchat profile saying, yeah, here we go, we're in. And whilst Shane lodged all of the fun files and features into my brain, there were very few files in place with regard to the potential risks. My adults didn't know what was going on. Shane is at a similar stage of brain development as I am. He doesn't have the files in his cabinet regarding the risks. He only knows the fun stuff. And therefore, how are our children going to learn? Being exposed to things that it's just not appropriate for their age. We need to know how social media works, guys, and social media works on a system that's known as algorithms. And we have to look at the potential, the positives, and how phenomenal social media and devices are. It's an absolutely phenomenal place. It's a phenomenal space. And as an educator, as a parent, as a psychotherapist, like the use of digital devices in classrooms, as a parent of a child who has special educational needs, this is just phenomenal. We think back to COVID, where would we have been without digital devices? It would have been extremely difficult for us. So we have to look at the potential of how wonderful they are. But these devices are tools, guys. They're not toys. And whilst it is an exciting place and a place where young people can learn, connect, and share interests, what children see online isn't always random. Because behind every video, every post lies something called an algorithm. And this is a set of invisible rules which allows apps like TikTok and Snapchat to see and gauge what appears on our screen. This algorithm, this set of invisible rules, is just like Big Brother, and it watches and monitors our every move. And then it harvests our data, so it owns all of our private information. To use the service, it will use our data, and so it can help platforms like TikTok and YouTube to make money based on our information. And over here on the other side, then it will monitor and see what we like to watch, what we watch fully, what we watch part of, what we watch twice, what we like, what we share, what we comment on. And then it makes digital decisions based around our likes and interests. And then it helps TikTok and Snapchat to decide what we see on our screen. So if a child likes football, they'll see lots of football videos based on their For You section on TikTok. If I like makeup tutorials, it will be full of makeup tutorials. And this creates what's called a filter bubble. But filter bubbles can be extremely dangerous, especially if a child is vulnerable. As that filter bubble, if I'm a kid and I'm looking to lose weight, a filter bubble will then target me with weight videos, weight loss, how to lose weight, what way my body should look like for a 16-year-old kid. And that can be extremely dangerous, even though I didn't look for it in the first place. And now today I'm feeling, oh God, someone made a comment on my weight today. I might like to lose a couple of pounds. And then I go on looking at how might I lose that couple of pounds. I'm not having that conversation with my parent. I use the social media search bar on Google. And then, of course, Google realizes I'm looking for weight loss videos. And now I'm in a filter bubble that every time I go online, all I'm seeing is weight loss, reminding me of how different I feel to my group. So we need to understand that this system can target our children with really content that really makes them feel less than. It can make them feel upset and distressed. And our kids need to know how to switch their algorithm. So today I encourage them to take a piece of paper, write down if they feel that their algorithm is not full and their feed is not full of things that, fill up their happy cups. Write down 5 or 6 things that they like and that makes them feel good. And then search for those 5 or 6 things on social media or on Google search engine, on their TikTok, on their YouTube, and then like it and watch it twice and comment on it. And what we do then is retrain the algorithm into giving us more lighthearted stuff, more stuff that makes us feel happy rather than stuff like diets and things that make me feel low. So now we have an idea of how the algorithm works, guys. Let's look at the risks on social media for our adolescent cohort. Many risks for a child. You might ask, why did the professionals choose 16? Because just like gaming, social media can change a child's way of being in the world. The algorithm, many kids in junior school will falsify their age and they will want public profiles to be TikTok famous. So from very, very young, the algorithm is now data harvesting, thinking this child is 16. So it's going to target them with more inappropriate adult rated content, leaving them feeling upset and distressed. If we look at the murder of Charlie Kirk, most kids in first year will say that's something I saw. We look at the extreme sadness across the world, many countries at war, and we see the way that's all being publicized, and videos of such distressful videos being put up online on social media sites. And the children have access to those. And when they've no one to talk to, that's extremely traumatizing for them. They can be exposed to racism, hatred, and abuse at a time when their moral compass is still trying to develop. And they may not see the racial undertones in these videos, thinking it's funny, and they may choose to engage. And what might the choice of that be? Well, it may not affect me right now as a 14-year-old kid, but when I get to our fifth years today and they've worked their little cotton socks off up to fifth year, and then they're making life choices, thinking about jobs, college courses, apprenticeships, and then they make an application, and the first thing I see is racial comments when they were 14. That's not going to bode well with me. I'm going to put that application in the bin. So children are not thinking of these with their own, these types of pathways when they're 12, but it becomes a real stark reality when they're 16, 17 and making life choices. Children also feel pressure to fit in, to belong, to be just like their friends, and this can change the way they act. The algorithm again will fill their feeds with pictures and videos that are relevant and on trend, and you'll see that with 6, 7 and aura farming. These little 6, 7, and they're practicing these little dances in our yards, in our homes, in our kitchens, the older ones with the younger ones. And we see where most of this practicing takes place, and most of the influences are much older. So our children are modeling from people who are much older than they are themselves. Now, when you see a 24-year-old moving and dancing in a certain way, it may look actually attractive to this emerging young child and young adolescent. But when we see that as an adult with a fully formed brain, it looks quite sexual. They're modeling and mirroring off people who are much older. And this time, it's not coming from a healthy perspective, it's quite unhealthy. Most of their publications and most of their videos and pictures will come from a bedroom, and they're in a bedroom because they don't want you guys as their parents to see. But who are they allowing in? They're locking us as caregivers out because they know their content is cringy, and they're allowing dangerous people in. Reality is social media has made it easy for adults to connect to children from the comfort of our own home. We think our home is a safe place, but guys, our home can never be a safe place if our children have public profiles on social media. We give the children access to the internet, and we give the internet access to our children. That means they come into our homes, into the comfort of our sitting rooms and our children's bedrooms, and that's clearly not safe. So we need to have conversations with our children with regard to, once again, randomers and who they're inviting into their home, and every day who they're looking for validation from. All these kids want is validation, affirmation that their content is good. But a lot of the time, this validation, affirmation is coming from people outside of our homes and people across society who are not to be trusted with our children, because our kids have public profiles. All profiles on social media, guys. If your kids are to have social media between 13 and 16, all profiles need to be private, not public. Really, really important. As we discussed, adolescence is a time for transition and change, especially when it comes to a child's body. Their body is changing, a natural development taking place. It's normal for kids to compare themselves to other people. And I'll compare myself to other people in my class and in my home and at my after school activities. And I'll see other kids who have a little outbreak of acne, or other kids who have not yet taken the growth spurt, and kids who are still small and kind of round like I am. And then I see the ones who are quite tall, and I'm really hoping my day will come soon. This can be reassuring for me in the real world. I look around and think, well, I'm not the only one. But then in contrast, I can go and compare myself to online influences, and this can be really dangerous. Because as a child, my brain is not yet fully formed, and I don't have the ability to assess what's real and what's fantasy. And if I'm struggling with my weight today and I'm feeling really vulnerable, I may go online and look for diets or how to lose a bit of weight, quick fix solutions and ideas to help me with these vulnerabilities, guys, and just to help me get over this challenging phase of my life. And then we see whereby I get caught in this filter bubble where the algorithm will provide me with false and misinformation. There's people, influencers online being paid to influence my decisions, trying to bombard me with products that may give me, a weight loss, lose 10 pounds in a week, buy protein, use my face mask and use it for 7 days and you will look beautiful like I look. And when a child's brain is not yet fully formed and when they feel vulnerable and different to their peers, this might be a route that they may try to embark on. Our perspective as an adult would be, no way are you going on a diet. You're perfect just the way you are. And that feels dismissive. So then the kids will go incognito looking for diets that are more, they can follow without our realization that this is what they're doing. One simple search related to body image diets or weight loss, and a child can be exposed to an array of content regarding unhealthy behaviors around food, their bodies, as well as more extreme exposure to eating disorders and disordered eating. So we need to be very much aware of our perspectives and how we deal with conversations around me in my adolescent body and how I feel different to my groups. Because we do have the influence, real world, we have the influence online, and the healthy conversations is not to dismiss the way they feel. And that's lack of information, guys. It's not that we mean to do it. We just look at our child and think they're perfect. And why would a picture make you feel so bad about yourself? It's only a stupid picture. And that's our perspective as an adult. It's a picture. I use my phone. It's just a stupid picture. But to the child, it's not just a picture. My identity and my way of being and the way people see me is all amalgamated and enmeshed within that picture. And if I feel different to my group, it's going to change my internal way. And I'm going to internalize that is, I feel different. So it's supporting our young people around that. The final element of concern then is how young people interact and communicate through digital devices on social media with each other in their friendship groups. Now, interaction and friendships, guys, oh my God, the way these kids interact is so very different to the way you and I grew up. Interaction and communication on social media now is an integral part of how these kids grow and how they communicate. And we see them even developing relationships online, and we're kind of looking, going, dating apps? Can you not just meet in the real world? It's not the way it rolls today. And these young people, when they use digital devices, not all of them will stay true to their moral compass interacting online. It can change the way a child behaves. They're all grown, they're all developing different times, different stages. Their friend today may not be their friend tomorrow. Distance can come with kids because they're mature on different levels, but we still get on, we still communicate, we still spend time, just not as much time together. But if we look at how Shane and I fell out today over a stupid game of Fortnite, digital devices in this case were used to be cruel and nasty. Because with digital devices, there's less risk of getting caught. So I use my screen, and behind that screen, I set up a group chat. And in that group chat, a couple of people in our class, I say things behind that screen that I would never ever say face to face. Less risk of getting caught, and I can see how my words are affecting Shane. So there's a lack of empathy. Then with the love of drama, these kids will screenshot and they'll share. Oh my God, did you see what Paula said about Shane today? Oh my God, did you see power of sharing hundreds of friends on social media? It spreads like wildfire into our home schools and communities. This is a deliberate and repeated pattern of behaviour. It becomes an everyday occurrence. It can become 24/7. It's unlike the behaviour you and I remember. We could go home from school, take a break. We didn't have to go football training or out to play. Now it's 24/7 with access to devices. What young people fail to realise is that this is online abuse, this is cyberbullying, and in Ireland, this is illegal. On the 9th of February 2021, World Internet Safety Day, Coco's Law was ratified by the Minister for Justice, Helen McEntee. And Coco's Law now makes cyberbullying, online abuse, and image-based abuse a criminal offence. Image-based abuse in our secondary schools, guys, the sending of intimate images has almost become normalised. Young people today were well aware of someone in their home schools and communities who had sent an intimate image of their body. When intimate images are shared consensually, there is always a risk that the intimate images at some stage can then be shared without my consent, and under Coco's Law, that's a criminal offence. I could send an image of my body consensually, and if I am threatened to have that image shared again without my consent under Coco's Law, that is also a criminal offence. And these kids fail to realise that if that came to the attention of the guards, Image-based abuse, offence number 1, threatening to send an intimate image of someone without their consent. That's offence number 1 in Coco's law. That is an unlimited fine and up to 7 years imprisonment. Offence number 2, if I was to send an intimate image of my body, I made a mistake, guys. Not the best decision I've ever made. Only for Bobby, my boyfriend, 3 months from now, he had taken a screenshot on his iPad and he shared that into the group chat because I dumped him. He's feeling a little to deliberately, hurt me. Guys, that's a criminal offence. And these kids are not only sending images, they're sending images under the age of 18, which can also be, seen as a high level crime under the Child Trafficking and Pornography Act 1998. So we need to be extremely cautious. I think we'll agree, given a grown developing child access to a digital device is a huge responsibility. And we are doing our best parenting this digital generation. All we want is for our kids to grow up feeling safe, loved, and supported. So, safety, guidance, and structure is really important at this stage. We give them access to technology. Our expectation is that they will get it right. How will they get it right, guys? This is too much. It's life changing. The responsibility is too great. They can't get it right when their brain is not yet fully formed. It doesn't form until 24. We're expecting them to make really responsible decisions alone. We're setting them up for failure. And the sad part is that every mistake they make online is added to their digital trail. That's the trail they leave behind online, a trail that can be searched and shared by anyone across the world. And these kids will not be kids forever. A few short years from now, they'll be all grown up. They will have to make life choices, applying for jobs, college courses. And the first thing they will do is Google search their name, make decisions based on their mistakes as a child. That's not fair. Children should not be judged on past mistakes. They're kids. Kids make mistakes. Everyone deserves a second chance. But that's not the way it works online. So I hope we can see tonight how important it is to start good digital communication from an early age. And promoting healthy adolescent development means you micromanage the use of technology from a really young age. We never give a child access to a digital device without installing parental controls on it first. We do not give phones to children in junior school. That passion should start in secondary school. We do not allow children compare themselves to older siblings. So maybe your child in secondary school got a phone in junior school and now the junior same.
Hi, folks. I seem to have lost Paula there for a second. So if we just wait a moment, we can see if she can rejoin the meeting. So just bear with me for a second and we'll see if we can get Paula rejoined. Thank you.
Apologies, people. Can you hear me there?
Yeah, all good, Paula.
Yes, I can hear you, Paula.
Shane, can you hear me?
Yeah, no bother.
I can't hear you there. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So apologies there, guys. I got jumped out for some reason. It must be my internet connection. So are you good? I can't actually hear you for some reason. So just before we go, guys, I don't know whether we will be able to share that screen. It's not sharing for me now. So guys, we see starting digital communication is really, really important at such a young age. Just to finish off there, that slide, promoting healthy adolescent development, no phones, primary school, don't allow the children compare themselves to older siblings. Have an agreement in place with regard to how devices are to be used, as well as what to do if things go wrong. Please do not allow digital devices in the bedrooms overnight. This lessens the risk of sleep deprivation, keeps them out of late night negativity like cyberbullying and image-based abuse. Please adapt the support, never punish. This will encourage good digital communication. And remember, please, you are the regulator in your home. It's your job to make the difficult decisions to keep your child safe. They're asking for your support, guys. At this stage of their brain development, they can't do it alone. All of their hopes and dreams depend on you maintaining and helping them to maintain a positive digital footprint. So, guys, I'm going to answer, and I'm hoping I'm going to be able to answer any questions. I can't understand why my mic is not, or why I can't hear you guys, but maybe my mic is on. I'm getting kicked out for some reason. Does anybody have any questions, Shane? Maybe you could target it in this
folks,
chat here.
If you have any,
because you can hear me, but I just can't hear you.
No problem. That's no problem. So we'll, if anyone has any questions, folks, you can pop them in the chat. But I think we've gone through lots there this evening. It's been fantastic
and join
to have
again,
Paula
would
here.
I might be better leaving and try to join again, Shane, and see can I come back on to you. Give us 2 seconds and I'll be.
No problem. Folks, we can leave Paula there anyway, and what we'll do is we'll pop Paula's email into the feedback form from the school. And again, it's only a Microsoft form just to give us a little bit of feedback on this evening. This recording will be up on the school website also, and it'll be available for other parents and guardians to view at another time, another date. And again, we're trying to incorporate a few more things regarding online safety and just give parents and guardians a bit more information out there. We've been already speaking to our first years, we've spoken to our second years, Paul has spoken to our fifth years today, and the Gardaí are in next Monday to speak to third year students, and we're kind of trying to touch base with all year groups in relation to online safety and just how important it is to be safe online and to know the procedures around being online and what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. So I think we'll leave it there. I think we've gone over to maybe 70 minutes. So I'd just like to thank Paula for her time this evening. She's been a great resource to us, and we hope to use her more and have her back with us next year. And like I said, we've created a good link, and we'd just like to keep that going. So just a special thank you to Paula O'Connor for this evening. Lots of practical advice, which has been brilliant to see. So I'll leave it here, folks, and what I'll do is I'll forward on the email to the full school community, and any feedback at all or any questions, remember just to contact your head for anyone regarding in the school, and any direct questions you can forward them in the email, and we can ask Paula for a little bit of advice, and I'll pop Paula's email in there as well. So if you feel you need something more, a direct email towards her, you can send it off there as well. But appreciate everyone logging in.
Shane, do you mind if I jump in there 1 second?
Yes,
beg your pardon. Apologies. Sorry to be extending your evening, everybody. Good evening. Guys, I just wanted to say a big massive thank you to Mr. Shane Brennan. Mr. Brennan has did a lot of work behind the scenes to arrange for Paula to come into the school to speak to our students. She was in before Christmas, and she was in again school today. Again, fabulous feedback from the students, and like that, Mr. Brennan was the drive force behind this webinar this evening, and like that, I'm sure you all agree, did a fantastic job. And like that, I just want to extend my massive thank you on behalf of Mr. Joyce, Ms. Hart, and I say thank you very much, Mr. Brennan, for all this hard work and for facilitating this evening. So, Mr. Brennan, thank you very much, and thank you everybody for your participation and interaction. It was fantastic, Paula. Thank you.
Thanks, folks. Okay, thank you, Mr. McCoy. Thank you very much. Okay, thanks, folks. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.